Now, Ask Dr. Love with psychotherapist, author, love and relationship expert Dr. Jamie Turndorf. For expert advice on love and relationships, you can submit your questions online at AskDrLove.com or post comments and questions to Dr. Love while you're watching live over Google Hangouts or YouTube. Now, here's Dr. Love.
Welcome to Ask Dr. Love Radio. I'm Dr. Jamie Turndorf, and it's my pleasure to be with you again this week. Today, I'm talking about mind power for peace with Donna Seebo. And let me just ask you, do you have a highly attuned sense of intuition? And did you know that people who are highly intuitive are more successful in life and love? Well, today I'm talking about mind power for peace with Donna Seebo. She's an international mental practitioner. She's a counselor, a speaker, a teacher, an award-winning author. She's a minister and radio TV personality. She's a talk show host. She hosts the Donna Seebo Show and Warriors for Peace, and soon she'll be celebrating her 14th year with her daily programming. And she's been involved in the work of mind for over 40 years, sharing her skills and talents with thousands of people through private counseling, radio and TV, and speaking appearances. And she celebrates the empowering of the individual so you can achieve your greatest potential, joy, and happiness in this experience we call life. And she's also an accomplished writer, and she's going to be producing a new children's book, The Magic Hat, in 2015. And we're going to talk about how you can connect with her because her website is delphiinternational.com or www.mrseebosclassics.com. So, welcome. Are you here with me, Donna?
I sure am. I'm right here.
Hi. I always love your voice.
Happy Christmas. Happy holidays. Oh, my goodness. Aren't we all busier than beavers?
Yeah, busier than beavers or bees or something. So how'd you get into this work on mind power for peace and working with the mind? What brought this passion to you?
Well, what brought the passion to me was total misery, confusion, and dark night of the soul.
Oh,
and, yeah, isn't that wonderful? I think that I, like so many other people in life, we think we know what we're supposed to do. After all, when we're growing up, we're supposed to do this, that, or the other. And in a million years, I would never have anticipated or expected that I was going to be in a position to, number one, have an international radio show, number two, be able to publish children's books and other items, number three, be involved in the psychic area, which was an unknown to me. But it took a series of circumstances to get me out of what I call mental sludge. Mm-hmm. And it's not an easy journey. It's a journey that once you start on it, you're not going to go backwards. It's not possible. And for me, the beginning came with dreams. Now, I've always been a heavy dreamer from as far back as I can remember. But I look at the experience now with an understanding and a wisdom I certainly didn't have when I was in my 20s. And I was terrified. I was having what I thought were nightmares. And the long story, I'm not going to be able to do, but the short version is that because of these experiences, I started asking questions.
Well, wait, before you go on, the experiences, so that people understand, because, we all have dark nights of the soul. Was yours that, were you depressed? Were you anxious? Were you having nightmares? How would you, if you had to put a name to what the dark night felt like for you?
Well, the dark night was actually not just one night. It actually was my life at that time. So I can't put it in a box. It was a combination, I think, of, you could use the word depression. It was an awareness that I was in a spot that I had to make choices about. And I didn't know the right questions to ask. I didn't know who to talk to. When you're in a situation where you're forced to wake up, and you have to start making decisions. You have to start making choices. And we all have choices. Even when you don't make a decision, you are making a choice.
That's wonderful. Very true.
But when you reach a point where you are being forced to wake up, and that is how I would describe it. And it was ugly. There were many levels to it, and the most abrupt and awakening factor for me, and I was living in Southern California at the time. I was a single mom, and I awakened from a dream experience that was so vivid, and I was just drenched in perspiration. I said, oh my goodness, something's wrong. Something's very wrong. I think like many people, we go into denial. We try to cover up things. We don't want to face what's right in front of us. We want to go around it, under it, over it. We just don't want to look it straight in the eye and realize that it's up to us to make the change. And that's what I had to do. So I started asking questions, and I had a very, very dear friend. And she, in turn, had a sister-in-law that had just started getting into metaphysical study, dreams and all kinds of various things. And I talked with her, and she said, oh, my goodness, I have no idea about how to help you with this, but I've got a neighbor. This is how life goes. You have somebody.
Right.
So this neighbor, her name was Gloria, and to this day, I have nothing but the deepest respect and appreciation for her being in my life. And I can remember calling her one night, and it was dark, it was storming, it was thundering and lightning. It was just a bloomin' dark night, and by golly, I reached her, and this warm tone of voice answered the phone. I introduced myself. I said, I don't know if you can help me, but I'm very frightened right now.
Aww.
And can you interpret a dream for me? She said, sure, not a problem. And by golly, she did. And she took the dream apart in segments, interpreting the color, the events that went on in the dream, because the detail was just very, very, very strong. And she told me I had nothing to fear, but I was in a major transformative period in my life. No harm was going to come to me. People were going to try to control me, but no harm was going to come to me. I was so frightened of the dream that I thought my life was in danger. So that was a paralyzing level of thinking, as it was. And as it turned out, she was exactly correct. And we became friends, and then I became her student. And it wasn't a student relationship that's in a classroom. It was at her kitchen table. And I had the good fortune of knowing this woman who was a very gifted astrologer and psychic, very, very brilliant. And at her kitchen table, sometimes over a plate of lasagna, she was teaching me lessons. And I was so grateful to her. I only had the good fortune of knowing her for about 2.5 to 3 years. She passed away. She was quite young. She was 38 years of age. She just left in her sleep.
Wow.
And she passed her mantle on to me. And to this day, as I said, I have nothing but the deepest regard for her. So that is how it began. But the road of learning about the mind, the road of experience that went through my desire to explore, to question, to experience. Sometimes I was kicking and screaming during the process. I can't say that I was happy with a lot of the things that I experienced, yet it enriched me tremendously. And the greatest gift that the understanding and the working with the development of the intuitive skills of the self is freedom. It makes you aware that you do have choices. It makes you aware that there is so much more that goes on in life. You cannot look at life necessarily in a linear manner. It doesn't work that way. It is an experience that covers so many modalities and so many various dimensions. I absolutely adore my work. I enjoy everything that I'm doing, and I just feel like I'm one of the most fortunate people on this planet because I'm able to share what I know with other people, doing shows like with you, Dr. Jamie. It's marvelous.
Well, tell me, so for people who are not familiar with the concept, when you say you're a mental practitioner, what does that mean for the layperson?
All right, for the layperson, some people might call me a psychic, some people might call me a channeler, some people might want to use the term a psychic medium. All of those terms are fine. I use the term mental practitioner because the aspect of intuition and what we often describe as the sixth sense has no barriers or no boundaries to it, absolutely none. And as human beings, in the aspect of working with the aspect of communication, we like to use words that put pictures into our minds. So the term psychic so often is used, and I found, especially when I started doing television and radio, that the term literally caused shivers up and down people's spines.
That is so
I
true.
adopted the mental practitioner, and I use it to this day because really that's what it's all about. The flow of the understanding and the natural gift that belongs to every living thing on this planet, intuition, is meant to enhance your life. It is meant to be a complement. It is meant to be a tool. It is meant to empower you, not frighten you, not disable you, not create a negative. It is there so that you can expand to your greatest potential, whatever that may be, and we've all got it.
Everyone is born with, as I say in my latest sales book, Love Never Dies, I talk about the fact that we're all born with these innate abilities to send and receive energetic signals, to read the signals that are being transmitted to us nonverbally. And the fact is, we do it all the time with people who walk the earth, and it's not such a big leap then to understand that those in spirit are sending energetic signals to us that we can receive, and that likewise we can send back to them. It's really a continuation of the same thing that we do on a daily basis.
Absolutely. It's a different frequency. I think
that's it. It's like turn the channel, turn to a different channel to send and receive those frequencies. It's just a different channel in your brain.
It is more than just the brain. The whole body, the whole sensory system uses it.
Yeah, you're using everything. But to me, the brain is that's like our channel changer, if you want.
Yeah, it's a computer. It is a computer because the mind is not the brain, and the brain is not the mind. The mind will work through the vehicle of the brain. But even if the brain is damaged in some way, the mind is still working. Scientists cannot put a box around the mind, and that's because it's unlimited. I used to do a talk where I would talk about the universal computer. I nicknamed it TUM, T-U-M. And the reason I did that is because every single thought, anything goes into this massive universal consciousness. That's the terminology that I'll use. The massive universal consciousness. And this consciousness doesn't judge it good, bad, or indifferent. It is merely experience. It is knowledge. It goes in to this huge, huge universal consciousness. So this is why when something is evolving, there will be people that will pick up on their channel, using your word, that I think is very appropriate. Somehow or another, their station channel is turned on, and they get a download of information. Why are they getting the information? Sometimes there's no logical, linear way of describing it. They've just got the open frequency.
Yeah.
They get the download. Bingo, it's there. They're perplexed. Why am I getting this download? And then they find that it's increased. It's just very, very accurate. And the download sometimes will come in symbology or in description or verbally in such a way and manner that it's not making sense because it is not in that person's frame of reference. And I think of an experience that I had back in the 90s about New York City. And I look at it now, and the experience was so profound. It was a few years before the September 11 event occurred. And I can remember standing outside of a vehicle talking to a former student of mine saying, I have had this experience. I don't know where it is. I don't know why it's being given to me, but I'm getting it. And I know now it was part of a patterning of information, but I had no way to relate it to anything.
That's wonderful. Let me take a brief break, and we'll continue with this fascinating discussion.
Dr. Love's Quickies.
Wondering how to tell the difference between love and lust? Poor Mark. Every time he takes a woman to bed, he ends up scratching his head. His big head, I mean. How can he tell if he's in love or only in lust? Time. Lust usually fades in a few weeks while true love lasts. So when it comes to gauging if you're in love or only in lust, remember you can't trust lust. I'm Dr. Jamie Turndorf of AskDrLove.com.
You are listening to Ask Dr. Love with Dr. Jamie Turndorf. Ask Dr. Love is the web's premier relationship advice site since 1996. Visit AskDrLove.com to search thousands of free relationship advice articles on any relationship issue you may have, or submit a question to her free advice column. You can also watch this broadcast live over Google Hangouts or YouTube. Sign up for her newsletter at AskDrLove.com to be the first to know about her upcoming radio shows. And find out how you can watch her live and ask her questions in real time. Don't be shy. Dr. Turndorf wants to help you, so take advantage of this unique opportunity to get a personal answer from one of today's most respected experts. This show is for you, the listeners, so if you have a question for her, make sure to watch live on Tuesdays from 1 to 2 Eastern Time on Google Hangouts or YouTube, or catch the archived broadcast on webtalkradio.net. Now, back to Dr. Love.
Welcome back to Ask Dr. Love Radio. I'm talking about Mind Power for Peace with Donna Seebo. Donna, this is the time in the show that is my quickie segment. It's a short 6-minute segment, in and out. So, and I always do a couple tweets to drive the point home. So can you, in the short while we have in this segment, talk about how you're connecting up the cultivation of intuition and mind power with peace?
I don't think you can have it without it.
Right.
I believe that you need to recognize that peace is a proactive process. It's not just something you think about. It's something you do something about.
Isn't that wonderful?
In today's world, we have so many incidences that are going on. We're seeing rage. We're seeing hate. We're seeing this regurgitation of old patterns. And we see the destruction that follows with it. And it is a very masculine energy that's a very dark energy. Is it always been around? Yes. Will it continue to be around? Yes. But what can we do with it? The aspect of creating peace comes about by our thinking processes in combination with our emotional responses. We really need to figure out what's pushing our buttons. And I find that so often that those people that want to get engaged in these different aspects of what I call misdirected behavior, and sometimes it leads to criminal behavior, which is so tragic, and we're hearing so much of that in the news. There are those that want to create an agitation because they don't know what else to do with their minds, their mouths, or their actions. They don't have any other options. You have to reframe things, and you really have to ask yourself what pushes your button and why. What the aspect of developing intuition does, it makes you realize that you're responsible for how you think and for what you do. You don't play the blame game. You don't put the blame game on anybody else. You take a look at yourself directly. Say, what do I need to change within me to make a difference? You don't try to change other people. You start with yourself.
Radical responsibility.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. That is very, very important. If you don't do this, you're going to be caught in a hamster's wheel run, and regrettably, you won't ever be able to get off the hamster's wheel.
See, now, what you're talking about is the shift from the victim stance to the empowered person stance. And so many people who come to therapy begin therapy with the feeling of, I'm the powerless victim. And, of course, victims are furious. You feel done to, and you want to lash out. And what we don't realize is that we all have like a core story from when we were kids. And this is the human condition. Things didn't go right in our upbringing. We were mistreated. Our siblings were favored. We were beaten mentally and physically. So we come to adulthood carrying that feeling of, I'm a victim, it's not fair. Now we recreate it in our intimate relationships, and now we're punishing our partners and those closest to us for the anger that we felt toward our parents that we never worked through. So what you're saying is so correct. You need to get in touch with the real source of, why do I feel like a victim, and what am I doing to keep it going? What am I doing?
Peace does not come without maturity. You're not going to have it otherwise. You don't understand it. And I think that's why this life experience is very much like a school, and that's why historically there's been so much turmoil. You study history at all, you'll see it repeated over and over and over again. You study any of your tyrants, any of your dictators, you find that most of them are like overgrown children, 5 years old, and have never done much with their lives otherwise, nor could they, because they don't know how. And
so what would you say to somebody listening? I want to cultivate more awareness. Awareness of where my thoughts and feelings are coming from, more intuition into myself. Do you have a little technique that you could give?
I would say get into the habit of keeping a journal. Write down your emotions, how you feel about them. Look at them with integrity and say, where do I want to make a switch so I'm no longer a prisoner of other people's thinking, feelings? I want to really come to know myself. And don't be afraid to make friends with yourself. It's really a good thing.
Mm-hmm. And take responsibility.
Absolutely.
Take responsibility for your thoughts and your feelings. People will say, well, you made me do it. And no, I don't care what somebody else does. Like on Saturday, I took my car in to a place that had promised to house it for the winter. It's a sports car, and they said that there would be a solar panel waiting for me. And so I get there, and I hire somebody to drive behind me so I can get a ride home. So I take the car in, and the secretary there says, okay, we've got your space waiting for you to park. And I said, and the solar panel? And she says, I know nothing about it. Let me call the owner. The owner gets on the phone and starts screaming at me, screaming, and I, when somebody comes at you with that much rage, it's very distressing. And I just took a breath, and I just calmly said, why are you so angry? And she paused like I had put cold water on her face, and then she said, I don't know. And then she proceeded to continue some more. I'm not giving you the solar panel. Nobody told me about it. And I'm not doing it for just a winter. And she went crazy, and that also made me think, we so often have to step back and not take what's happening personally. Obviously, watch the show. Take nothing personally. What was this saying about this woman feeling out of control, that her employees didn't tell her, whatever it is? We have to step back and watch the show, which helps us stay much more peaceful and detached and less reactive.
I agree.
Let me take a brief break, and let me just do one quickie, one little tweet. You can bring your life to full fruition by cultivating your intuition. Let me take a break, and I'll be back with you in a moment on Ask Dr. Love Radio.
You are listening to Ask Dr. Love with Dr. Jamie Turndorf. If you yearn to get along better with your life partner or spouse, friends, family members, and even coworkers, Dr. Love's latest Hay House book, Kiss Your Fights Goodbye, Dr. Love's 10 simple steps to cooling conflict and rekindling your relationship, shows you how to turn conflict into connection for a lifetime of lasting love. Find out more about this book and even read a free excerpt by visiting AskDrLove.com. This is Ask Dr. Love with Dr. Jamie Turndorf. And if you have a question for her, make sure to watch live over Google Hangouts or YouTube, where you can submit your comments or questions and connect with Dr. Love in real time. Or listen to the archived show at webtalkradio.net. This show is for you, the listeners, and Dr. Love wants to hear from you. You're listening to Ask Dr. Love with Dr. Jamie Turndorf. Once again, here's Dr. Love.
You're listening to Ask Dr. Love Radio with Dr. Jamie Turndorf. I'm talking with my really wonderful guest, very wise woman, Donna Seebo. So, Donna, talk to me about the sizzle. What is that?
The sizzle, yes. What is this sizzle? Optimism. Optimism is the sizzle. In today's world, we are looking for things to bring the sizzle into life. I love the word sizzle because it just vibrates. You think of a steak sizzling on a grill. You think of anything sizzling. It's alive. It is noisy. It is there. That's what optimism does. And so many times, if you've ever engaged in a conversation at a party or with people that maybe you have over, you're maybe at a sports game, it's amazing how when you are having conversations, people will go into how everything is so bad. And if you really want to create some sizzle, especially with other people, take a viewpoint of optimism. And if you want to create sizzle in your life, use optimism, because it is something that allows you to gain the power of your own individuality and your own choice. Let me give you an example. When you are in a situation, maybe you've lost money, maybe there are things that have happened to you, you're sick, maybe there are any number of circumstances that can happen. You can set a timer, give yourself a good half hour, and get into your big, huge pity pot and just wail, moan, groan, complain, cry, scream, curse, whatever it is that you want to do. Go ahead and do it. And do it with vigor. I mean, really give it your guts. When the timer goes off, you go, okay, switch. Then I want you to look at whatever that circumstance is and say, what can I do with this? I got a birthday party. I've only got $2 in my purse. I want to take a gift to someone. What gift could I give that person? How can I take what I've got in this moment? What can I do with this moment to make it better? If you have a health condition, what can I read? Who can I talk to? Where do I go to be educated? We have the internet. There are things that you can find out. What can you do if you're in a career crisis? What do you look at? You got fired. You got laid off. All right, count your blessings. You got a brain. You're capable. You've got skills. You've got talents. You've got abilities. Maybe what you really want to do more than anything else is work with goldfish. Well, for heaven's sakes, go out and find out everything you can about goldfish. Find out about the guy that makes the deliveries. Whatever it is, you find out about it. You make a switch. Shakespeare once said, we're all actors on this massive stage of life. Of course, I'm adjusting the words to suit me. However, the reality is that the power of our minds and our emotions are phenomenal. We can neutralize a situation where we can take what is not working and make it work for us. It is an amazing capacity. If you want sizzle in your life, realize you're the one that can create it. You don't turn that power over to anyone else. Just like if you were able to win $1 million, you don't turn your money over to somebody you don't know anything about and say, okay, take care of it for me because it'll evaporate in 24 hours. You don't do that.
This is so empowering what you're talking about, because what you're saying is you have the power to put yourself into a state of misery or to lift yourself out. And it's what we say to ourselves, what we think, and then the feelings that follow what we think and what we say to ourselves. And the idea of, putting a limit on, okay, I'll let myself have the feeling, but I am not going to wallow. Because if you wallow, you start producing all kinds of neurochemicals that become a different state of being. It becomes your new normal, and now you're just depressed. So you really have to not drown in your feelings. You flood and create all kinds of chemical imbalances. So you acknowledge it, but then you move on to what you can do to make the world a better place for you and not look to somebody else to fix it for you.
It doesn't work. You can try it. I have tried it. I guarantee you, I have tried so many different avenues. I was talking with someone just the other day. I said, every time I would go to somebody else and say, gee, I want you to fix me. I want you to correct something. I always found out I was the one that ended up doing the work anyway. I found nobody can really fix what needs to be fixed in me because I'm the only one that lives with me 24 hours a day.
Right.
Period.
Right.
So they're not going to know what my needs might be, and communication with words and trying to convey feelings, unless someone has walked a similar walk, they're going to look at me as if I'm half nuts.
One of the things that's very hard for people to realize is because so many of us have been mistreated in childhood, there comes a wish to be fixed or taken care of that derives directly out of, but I didn't get raised properly, I didn't get nurtured properly, so I got gypped, and I want you to be my mommy. This is a really good example of this. I had a patient maybe 30 years ago. She was a woman who had been very abused by her mother. Mother made her drink her urine, burned her with cigarettes. It was a horrible situation. And this woman became a lesbian because without knowing it, she was actually looking for a mommy. So she kept finding girlfriends, and one girlfriend after another she would come at with this hostile dependency saying, you have to take care of me. You owe this to me, to make up to me for what my mom didn't give me. So often when we resist doing our own work, our own inner child healing, our own reparenting, it's because there's a secret fantasy, and it's an angry, hostile feeling of, you have to do this for me. I got gypped, and I don't want to do it for myself. So by my pointing that out to so many patients over the years, it's sort of a wake-up call of, oh, my gosh, I'm standing on ceremony waiting for someone else to make up for what my mom didn't give me. And what am I doing? I'm sucking hind tit here because nobody else has the agenda to reparent me. Everybody else is struggling with his or her own childhood wounds that need reparenting. They're not going to take me on as a project.
Well, I think one of the biggest fallacies regarding childhood is that we're not supposed to have unhappy experiences.
Yeah, like who said?
If we are in what I call a healthy environment, by golly, we're going to fall, we're going to get bruised, we're going to make mistakes. I really, as an individual, find it very, very disturbing that we have developed helicopter parenting, as one of my guests called it, where we don't want anybody to be hurt, injured, everybody is going to be treated the same. Sorry, life doesn't go that way. You study Mother Nature, it doesn't happen that way. There isn't a branch on a tree that's going to grow identical to the other branch on the other tree. It just isn't going to happen. Individuality, curiosity, exploration, understanding that you're going to have failures in life, going through various things, this is part of what we call living.
And it's what makes you grow. You know, we grow, we develop our mental, emotional, spiritual muscle through these dark nights, through the challenges.
No question about it. Now, I'm the first one that's going to say, I didn't like a lot of the stinking stuff that was dealt out to me. But I also, when I say that, I also have to clarify something. In most instances, it was my choice that put me into situations, and I have to be honest. I have to say this was it, and I'll give you an example. I had a period of fear, and it wasn't all that long ago. It was about 5 years ago, and I could perceive something happening, and so I wanted to take a positioning of trying to make something occur through someone that supposedly had a lot of expertise to have it achieve its result, this result I wanted, which was generating an income. So I paid this person a huge sum of money, and it was paid over a period of time, and it was like 2 years. And what happened is this person, number one, was totally incompetent. Number two, they didn't do anything they said they were going to do. Number three, I ended up with a financial debt that was horrific. I was furious. I was angry. I was so angry, it was just unbelievable, as I think anybody would be. You don't like being conned. However, there was a very dear friend of mine, and I had a conversation with her, and this happened, I'd say a good year and a half ago. And I had to really examine how I got myself into such a mucky mess. I'm an intelligent woman. I'm well educated. I have a lot of experience behind me. Why did I put myself into such a situation? I'll tell you what. It was fear. It was fear. I was in absolute, total concern about not being able to take care of something that I knew was going to evolve. Now, I was correct in my perception. The condition that I saw that was going to be so negative, that was going to be so intense and emotional, did happen. It happened 3 years, and it repeated itself 3 years later, and it did happen again a couple of years after that. So what I saw was correct, but my response was one of fear. And when you make a decision based on fear, that's when you get into hot water. And I say this, and I put myself up on the front line. You cannot take and blame someone else. Now, that this person was incompetent, that I put all my trust into, that's a given. Would I ever recommend this person? No. But I had to really have integrity with myself. And the interesting thing was, as soon as I had that integrity with myself, a lot of the angst and the anxiousness and the stress went away. Because I was at the core of the evolution of what was a very negative experience for me. And the reason I share it is because sometimes we get so scared. We want to control things to such a degree that we don't have trust. And when you don't have trust, then you're often going to make choices and decisions that are not going to serve you well. So I wanted to share that with your listeners because I think it's important.
Yeah. And when you have trust, that's the opposite of fear. When you really have trust and faith, like we're not going to float away, gravity's going to keep us grounded to the earth, the world will continue spinning. Turn your palms up and have faith and trust. This is not a life and death struggle.
Mhm. And don't worry, you don't have to control everything.
Because you can't anyway.
That's
the
truth.
We have to surrender the illusion of control because we have so little control over so many things.
Oh, that is the truth.
It is, isn't it? And, so often I find this is one of the greatest objections that I have to the New Age philosophies, the idea that we can spiritualize our minds. We substitute our minds for that of God, fate, destiny. The idea that, well, if things go right, well, you affirmed it. It was the law of attraction and the power of intention. If things go wrong, well, you brought that on yourself. And I hate that because there are forces that are beyond us. We do not have control over. And it is blaming the victim to say so. And it's feeding into this magical thinking in our brains that we do have power and control over things. We don't. Things happen that are beyond us.
Well, and the truth is, as human beings, we can only see so much.
Yeah.
When I said that in this particular circumstance that I went through, what occurred is that I was given an insight into what was evolving. That insight, I was very much aware was the truth, and it fulfilled itself. But my positioning of trying to be in control, trying to make sure, and trying to logically, well, if this happens, then I'll do this, and I'll do this, and I'll do this.
Yeah.
Everything will come together,
micromanaging.
and it doesn't work.
It doesn't work because there's something about the energetic flow. When you let go and you allow the energy to flow, life flows better for you.
Yes, it does.
It really does.
Mm-hmm.
So let me take a brief break, and I'll be back with you in a moment on Ask Dr. Love Radio.
Dr. Love's Quickies.
Mary's about ready to give love the shove because no matter what she tries, men don't know that she's alive. To turn guys on, Mary needs to turn on what I call green lights, nonverbal signals that let a guy know you're ready to go. Most guys won't approach a woman unless they're sure to not be rejected. So ladies, if you want to kick your love life into high gear, make your signals clear. Turn on those green lights and flash your pearly whites. I'm Dr. Jamie Turndorf of AskDrLove.com.
You are listening to Ask Dr. Love with Dr. Jamie Turndorf. To submit your questions to Dr. Turndorf live on the air, sign up for her free newsletter at AskDrLove.com and get the details on how you can connect with her on Google Hangouts or YouTube during her live broadcasts. Or listen to the archived show at webtalkradio.net. If you've recently been through a breakup and are looking for a second chance, wondering how you can reconcile with your ex or if it's even possible after all you've been through, Dr. Love's book, Make Up, Don't Break Up, presents her proven 5-step plan for reconciling with your ex. This plan was developed over years of research, working with thousands of couples at her Center for Emotional Communication. This is a proven, no-hype, no-nonsense method that gets right to the root of the problem and shows you how to reignite the spark and rekindle your love. For more about Make Up, Don't Break Up, visit AskDrLove.com. And now, back to Dr. Love.
Get it on, get it on. Get it on, get it on, get it on. Get it on,
You're listening to Ask Dr. Love Radio. I'm Dr. Jamie Turndorf, and I'm talking with Donna Seebo about mind power for peace. So let's talk about intuition. How can you use intuition as a tool?
intuition is something that's on, period, 24/7. You're born with it, and what the process is to be able to be aware of it is to pay attention. First, to recognize that it is a reality. It is not something that's woo-woo. There is no magic guru that's going to give you anything special. You've already got it. But what is the best way, I think, and I pass this along because my mentor passed it along to me, and that is to read. Read. To go to your bookstore, your library, go online. Check out books that deal with intuition. Start reading them. You'll find some pieces of material that resonate with you. You'll say, oh, I really like this. This feels right. Or you'll say, this is a bunch of hooey. I'm not interested. But you need to come from a positioning of exploring your own self. And the reason I say it is that in my journey began with dreams. This is what was just a part of me. At a young age, I found that many of those dreams were coming true. I seemed to have this capacity at times, not all the time, but at times, when I would be in a time shift, where I would go forward, and I would be shown things in the future. Now, I didn't always pay attention to it. To me, it was just a part of my life. There are other people that may see spirits, that may have an awareness of a sensory factor where if they hear music, they see colors around the music, they see colors around letters, they might see auras around people, around plants. There's all kinds of different ways that the sixth sense, the intuitive self, demonstrates. And it's up to the individual to, first of all, acknowledge that this is normal and natural, and secondly, to begin to explore. And I'll make full circle going back to reading. And the reason it's important to read, perhaps even to listen to speakers, to listen to various programs and they're all over the internet, and it's something where you want to get a feel for what other people are saying. You will know what's right for you. If you wanted to get into the exploration of dreams, let's say, keeping a journal on your dreams, reading materials on dreams, that's what I did. And I remember at the time I started, there were not a whole bunch of publications on dreams, but one that I came across had been written by Elsie Seacrest, and it was about Edgar Cayce, who was a very, very famous medium, and he worked with people around the world, helping them to get well through his trance mediumship. Well, he had a book that Elsie put together on dreams because of the recorded information that was kept. But I learned very quickly that a lot of the symbolism that was depicted in the book was not accurate for me. So I had to learn what the symbolism meant to me. And this was a very big lesson because it taught me, and I've shared this with literally tens of thousands of people, your mind has a language of its own. Every person's mind has a language of its own. What may be relevant to you in the way of a symbol may not be relevant to me. Why this is the case is that we all have different cultural ancestry that is passed along through our DNA, and also we have a way of looking at life through our own filters. I have learned through my years of being involved in the work of mind that every person's individual thinking processes develops its own stage, props, and script. So when you do this, you then are going to find that you're going to be able to interpret what you experience. You may ask other people to help you, but you will be able to understand what's really coming through your own mind. That is the beginning of developing an association. When it comes to dealing with spirits on the other side, you don't need to be afraid of them. You need to start asking them questions. Because sometimes you get a bunch of busybodies that just want to stop in and be a busybody. You need to say, sorry, I don't need you today. Go visit somebody else. And then at other times, you may have people that come through that say, I really want you to pass information along to someone else, or I want you to know this is what you can do for yourself. There are so many variables, and I feel so grateful that my life path has brought me into contact with so many different people from so many different ethnicities, and I'm so grateful to them because every generation will have its own way of doing things and interpreting things. And this is not always easy to understand for many people. They want to compartmentalize and want everybody to be the same stripe of color. It doesn't work.
See, this is why I don't even agree with reading dream symbol books, actually, because the minute you have somebody else telling you what the symbol means, it's actually blocking your own intuition. So it's much better, and this is what I have found with my patients and, hundreds of thousands of people I connect with, is listen to your own intuition, because your own unconscious knows the answer to everything. Well, and nobody else can tell you what a symbol means or what a sign means. You know everything, and you just need to trust yourself and listen.
Well, I know for me, I'm an avid reader anyway. I go through 400 to 600 books a year.
That's a lot of books.
Yes, it is. And the reason that I do it is because with my own show and with my guests, I always want to give them the best representation possible. That when I interview them, that's really what it is. But that is what books do for me. They often open up different paradigms of thought. And I think it's important sometimes to see how other people think. So I agree with what you're saying on many levels, but I still do encourage the reading of books because many times we don't even know what is going on. And I certainly didn't. And my mentor, we would discuss so many things. And that's another thing I want to add. I think it's important to be able to have somebody you can talk to. When I think of Gloria, oh my goodness, when I think of her and I'm sitting at her kitchen table and we would discuss things, she would say, okay, write your dreams down and then tell me about them. And I'd come back with pages, and she would just laugh. She said, leave it to you. You're a detailist. You got all this information down. But yet I was able, she'd encourage me, how do you feel about this? In other words, she would tell me what she perceived, but then I would even go further with it because it was myself that was bringing this information forward. And it gave me a depth of understanding because I had someone to talk to. So also finding someone that you can respect. You don't go looking for someone that's going to be a guru. Let's get real here. That was big in the 60s. It doesn't apply today. Although I know a lot of people want to find someone, again, that they can turn their life over to, that they just say, here, you take it and you fix me, and then I'll do whatever you want. If it means cornmeal every morning for breakfast and hot air for dinner, that's great for me. Thank you, honored one. I'm sorry. I don't go for that. I want you to know that you can learn from others, but be aware that as an individual, you're here because you have a gift. You even have multiple gifts that you are to share with this experience of
Now, that's
life.
an interesting comment that you're making, because a lot of people will say, and I hear this a lot on my Hay House radio show, I don't know what my purpose is here. I don't know. I feel that I have something to offer the world, and obviously we all do, but I don't know what it is. So how does one begin to develop the intuition about your purpose, your soul purpose on earth?
I would say be present with yourself. What is it that brings you joy? I
That's
think of
very
an
good.
artist. Yes, I think of an artist, and this is a story I just love to share. This is a young woman who was so skilled as an artist. She was just so talented. This is where she wanted to be. This is what she wanted to do. So she goes, she's in the art shows, she's taking art classes, everybody raves about her work, and nothing's happening. She can't find a company to work for. But she loves her art. Well, one day a friend comes over to her house, and she's got this circle of girlfriends, and she's a mom, she's a single mom, and she's along with these other gals, and there's a birthday party coming up for one of the children, and she's talking, oh, what am I going to do? I want to do something special, blah, blah, blah. I just don't know. I'm not creative. And so this young lady, I'll call her Alice, said, you know what, let me do the birthday cake. Let me see what I can come up with. And her friend said, oh, thank you. You've just rescued me from the hell of hells. I just don't know what to do with this because I've gone to the grocery stores. I don't like what they've got. Oh, I just want something different. So this young lady, and she was in her 20s at the time, she decided she would decorate the cake. Now, she had never done cake decorating before, But she did it. She picked up some books, she read some recipes, she did some things, she learned about frosting and all kinds of things, and she had fun. She got in the kitchen. Well, her artistic glow glowed on that cake. She created a cake of cakes, and as it turned out, this was a cake that was covered for flowers. This was a little girl's birthday party. She takes this cake in, and there had to have been about 20 moms there at this birthday party. Everybody went gaga over the cake. Absolutely raving. Said, what in the world? Oh, I've never seen anything so beautiful. This is marvelous. When she goes home, before she gets home, she's having to give out her phone number to people. And these other mothers said, I want you to fix me a cake, da-da-da-da-da. Well, the long and short of it is that she now has a cake decorating business where she does artwork on cake. People pay up to $10,000 and more for those silly cakes. They are gorgeous. They are gorgeous. Now, let's go back to the original question. How do you find your passion? When you work with something that brings you joy, I don't care if it's making cakes like this one lady, and she didn't like to make the cakes. Now she's got somebody else making the cotton picking cakes, but she does the decorating. She is the artist. She has made her artistic form sugar, meringue, frosting of different consistencies, colors. She's got a palette that's unlimited. And this is what we need to remember. Whether you're a speaker, whether you are someone that's good with mechanics, it doesn't make any difference what your skill set is. Know that there is that place for you that you can have your own expression. And this woman found it. Someone might say, oh, that's so lucky. No, it wasn't a matter of luck.
No. And there are no coincidences. This is what she was led to do.
And it's
Donna, I could talk to you for 10 years and we wouldn't even scratch the surface. I know this. It's like, because it's basically like, I feel like I'm not even on the earth plane when I talk to you. We're out there in the stratosphere. We're just not all here. So tell everybody how they can find you.
Well, first of all, I invite people to go to my website, which is Delphi, DELPHI, international.com. Now, that's my website, but if you want to do it in a much easier way, then just Google Donna Seebo, S-E-E-B-O. You'll find all kinds of goodies there. Now, there's my website, and then if they want to, they can listen to my daily radio show, which is the Donna Seebo Show. And just go right into my website and click on the Donna Seebo Show link. Use Donna Seebo. Again, you'll have all the links show up for you. And you'll be able to hear the show daily, and it's on from 9 until 10 Pacific time. And then every Wednesday, I have a very special broadcast called Warriors for Peace, and that is from 11 until noon. And I do private counseling. I've got a brand new website. I'm so excited about it. I invite your listeners to check it out. It's MrsSeebosClassics.com, MrsSeebosClassics.com. And you'll find all of my publications there. And if they wanted to, they could even call me directly. And my office number is 253-582-5604. Excuse me, I was giving out the station number.
Say it again.
253-582-5604. That's my office number, because I do private counseling with people. But also, I just love doing the show, and I had the pleasure of having you as a guest. And I always like to leave my show, and I'll do it today, to tell people to remember always that they're the master of their fate, they're the captains of their soul. And to me, that's so important. Never give up your mind to anyone else. Learn from others, but honor and respect this wonderful, wonderful gift of life that you've been given. We need you. We need your light. It's there for a reason.
And the way you know what your mind is listen to your feelings, because your feelings are going to tell you if your toes are being stepped on, if you're not doing something that feels right and comfortable, then you pay attention to those signals. So I want to wish you, Donna, and everyone listening, a really wonderful Christmas. This is Christmas Eve, and I hope all of you are surrounded in love, and that you give love and you receive so much love and abundance. Next week is New Year's Eve day. I won't be doing a show next week because I'm actually moving, so I can't do a show and move. But I will be back with you in the new year, and so I want you to all just be in love. That's what we're here for. This is our Love Lab. Donna, thanks again for being my wonderful guest.
It was a delight. Happy holidays to all of you and abundant blessings.